This is the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and welcome everybody to the Coming Home Podcast with John Allen. I am your host, John Allen. I have been looking forward to this conversation with my next guest. His name is Ralph Molina. Ralph, how you doing, sir?
I'm good, John. How are you doing, bud?
You know, I'm doing fantastic. We have a big time difference here. You're on the West Coast in California. I'm way over here in Norway. So this is a nice, pleasant, cool Norwegian evening for me. So this is the tail end of a great day. It's just a great way for me to end my day.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Now you are not Californian by birth. You were raised in New York, were you not?
I was raised in New York, and my mom took us to live in Florida when I was 15. So I came out to California from Florida. Okay. But being raised in New York was one of my greatest times.
I can imagine. Now I'm a country boy myself. I'm from the Ohio suburbs of northeastern Ohio.
I had a good friend, Steve Antoine, who's passed away. Real good friend, a black friend of mine, and he's from Cleveland.
Okay, yeah, it's about what is that? Maybe 45 minutes from where I grew up.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, though, I don't know too much about Cleveland. I was never really in there. I was kind of isolated out there in the sticks.
Right. Well, good for you. That's country living, man.
Well, yeah, you know, I tell people all the time, coming here to Norway was not that big of a switch for me. You know,
right.
It's that easygoing, laid back, small town type of thing. I felt like I was coming home. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, you are home now, buddy.
Well, you know, I still feel like this is something new. I still feel like this is something that takes adjusting to. I mean, it's great. I'm enjoying myself. I have my wife. Good. We have our 2 kids. Everything's great, but it's
awesome.
That otherness is still there. But
yeah, I know. Do you ever get out here to Cleveland, to Ohio?
You know, the last time I was home was in 2018. Okay. Yeah, so fairly recently.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, I have my daughter and grandkids are there, my mother, sister, aunts, and a few cousins. So I still have my family there.
Well, after 20 years in Norway, it must be a culture change coming back.
It is. It seems like every time I come back, it's different.
I know. You want to go back home.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, like I said, when I introduced this episode, I've been real excited about doing this. When I think of you, when I think of Ralph Molina, I think of Crazy Horse. Right. But then I came across this beautiful album of yours, Love and Inspiration. And I just have to tell you, Ralph, or I have to ask you, why did you wait so long? Because this was beautiful.
I know. You know, it's kind of like I joke around a lot, and I go, well, I spent 40-something years doing things for other guys in the band.
So now it's your turn.
So, it's like Neil said a few years ago, whether it was in jest or not, he goes, it's Ralph's turn next. Because he would hear my songs kind of, and I try not to play too many melodies for him because he kind of steals them sometimes. But this album is more me. It's not like a Crazy Horse album.
No, this is a big step. Yeah, this is a big step away from Crazy Horse. This is you.
Yeah. It's how I grew up with doo-wop, and I love ballads. I love love songs. I love piano and strings.
Yeah, there's a lot of string arrangements on this. Now
Oh yeah, and my next CD will have the same thing, kind of. Songs, they get better as you continue to write.
Yeah.
And this is just more me. This is what I have inside, I guess, to offer. And I wound up playing drums, which was like I don't know. I never played drums in my life. I came out here to sing.
Yeah.
And I wound up playing drums.
How about
which
that?
is fine.
Now, how did that happen? That must have been a scary process for you to go to that.
Yeah, when I came out here, I got a phone call from my cousin who was singing out here in California with Danny Whitten and Billy Talbot.
Yeah.
And my cousin knew that I sang falsetto, and they wanted a falsetto part. So I came out here, and I always told my cousin, "You totally changed my whole life." Because if I had never received that call, I'd probably still be living in Florida, maybe, with 10 kids, miserable. I don't know. But when I came out here, we did a couple of CDs with the name of the group. It was a doo-wop group called Danny and the Memories.
Danny and the Memories.
With Danny Whitten, Billy Talbot, me, and then my cousin got married, so we got this guy Dino Rocco, and so we did some, Scopatone. It's kind of like this jukebox.
Yeah,
you can see the video, and so then when the Beatles came out, these guys were playing instruments. Before that, it was you had musicians. And then you had a band singing.
Right, right, yeah.
It was Danny who said, "Yeah, well, you know what, Billy," he told Billy Talbot, he says, "maybe you should play bass, and Ralph, you should play drums." And I go, "Well, I never played drums in my life, Danny." But I did have rhythm, and I started with a cardboard box, a spaghetti strainers, a hi-hat, things like that. And then eventually I got this small drum kit, and I'm a field player as Neil is, as the whole band is really a Crazy Horse now. But back then we had a band called, after Danny and the Memories, we had a band called the Rockets.
The Rockets, yes.
And Neil used to come up to Billy's house, because we always played in a garage. I guess that's why we get the title, the Garage Band.
Garage Band, yeah.
But so Neil used to come by after he left the Buffalo Springfield, and we were going to go play the Whiskey A Go Go in Hollywood, and we asked Neil to come in and sit in with us, which he did. Yeah. And then the next thing was he took me, Billy, and Danny as the rhythm section, and the rest is history, I guess.
And the rest is history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's how I wound up playing drums, from Danny just saying, "You should play drums," and that was it.
And that was it.
Mm-hmm. That was it.
Well, I want to talk very briefly. I'm a musician as well, so I understand the things that you're referring to when you call yourself you drum by feel, and when you describe Crazy Horse as a band that just goes by feel.
Band, yeah, right.
I absolutely love that. I have to say that you guys' way of, how do I put this into words? There's some songs with Crazy Horse that sound like you guys barely have rehearsed the song.
Right.
But that's a beautiful thing. It makes it so loose, so free and organic.
That's how that's how we record with Neil. It's, in the early years, people rehearsed a lot.
Yes.
Vocals. And we did our very first Crazy Horse album with Danny and Nils Lofgren and Jack Dietschy. We rehearsed probably 8 hours a day for maybe 4 or 5 days out of the week. And people loved rehearsing back then. But when we got together with Neil, he's more, raw, and he likes he goes, which is true. He says, in the first or second take is where you get the magic, the feel of the song. So he'll come in the studio with a song and he'll just start playing and we just jump in. And because we are field players, we just follow and and play. But I feel that we're a much, much better live band because it's kind of like, if you're an actor, you get 30 takes to get the scene.
Yeah.
And they love going, after they do a movie, they love going on stage where you get that one shot.
Right.
As an actor. So Neil loves getting the song in the first or second take. And after that, if you keep playing the song, it becomes a part. Now everybody's playing a part.
Yeah, something that's a little more forced, something that kind of loses the funk, if you will.
Yeah. So when we play live, we just let it all hang out. And I always tell Neil, when we play the anthems on stage, like Cortez or Danger Bird or Hurricane, you can be more spontaneous on those songs, which I love.
Yeah.
Neil knows. He goes, I'm going to send you a cassette. I go, Neil, I don't like listening to cassettes. I'd rather just go in and listen to you play and just jump in.
Yeah.
Because that's how I play the best.
Well, that freedom and that openness, it definitely comes through in the music. Yeah. So hats off to you for that legacy of music that you've been such a part of. Let me ask you, I think it's so interesting that you have a doo-wop background. I was in my teenage years when I read some kind of article about you guys' doo-wop background, the crazy you and Billy and Danny. That doo-wop background, that singing and that harmonizing that you came up on.
Right.
What I think is so interesting about it is that I hear that, for example, in Cortez, when you guys are harmonizing, especially live, dancing across the water, that is pure doo-wop harmony. It's almost a black thing, but here it is in a classic rock song.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful juxtaposition of styles. I love it.
It is. And me and, even Neil, we love singing backgrounds. I love singing backgrounds. I do a lot of the singing, obviously, because I sing the falsetto part. Yeah. But when we sing those parts in Cortez, it still gives me chills to this day.
Well, I can never get tired of hearing that song. It's just so different every time you guys perform it live.
Yeah, it's a great song too to play.
I love it.
Great song.
Let's jump forward now to this album, Love and Inspiration. Now, this album is very much about, at least my interpretation of it is very much about love and inspiration. Yeah. The lyrics are just beautiful. Now, you wrote everything, correct?
Yeah, I had on a couple of the songs I had, like I would have maybe a couple verses of the song. I'd have the melody, and then I kind of get writer's block as far as coming up with a bridge or a chorus, So I'll ask, I send what I have melody-wise and lyric-wise to a friend and ask him, can you come up with a bridge? Okay. So on one of the two songs, yes, I had like Anthony Crawford, who's in
the International Harvesters.
Yeah, and him and his wife have a Sugarcane Jane, there's a duet.
Yes.
And so here, like on I Don't Care, that one song on the Love and Inspiration, he wrote the bridge for it, which I thought was beautiful. I went, wow, awesome.
Yeah.
And so I give him credit. And, we just go from there. I mean, we're still in touch, and, so we still, whatever. But
you've had a long working relationship with him in different ways, I would imagine.
Yeah, we toured together with Neil, and stuff like that.
My favorite song off of that album is Too Young to Know. That song, that song gives me chills. And
you know what happened, man?
Tell me.
We played. We went to New York. We were on tour, and we got to New York, and I found my very first girlfriend when I was 14 years old in New York City on Facebook, Santa was her name.
Yeah.
And so I, in my mind, for some reason, I thought, wow, yeah, I'm going to get to see Santa. I called her and we were going to get together. So she picked me up at the hotel. I thought, I was thinking of when I was 14 and she was 13.
Uh-huh.
Or we were both 14. I go, she's going to look the same after 50 years. And so she was, not what I was, what I had in my mind.
No.
So I came home after the tour and I just wrote that song.
Okay.
It's, I don't like saying it's about Santa because, I try to write where all people can relate. You know what I mean? As far as being young, it's kind of like puppy love or whatever, but I love that song too.
I do. And speaking of your writing and making it accessible to everyone, you have a way of writing. And again, this is fascinating to me to see you in this context. Now you're not a drummer. Now you are you're a writer, you're a vocalist. And to listen to the lyrics on every one of these songs, the interpretation can change each time you listen to it. It's so open and loose,
right?
Which to me is the best kind of writing. I like the songs that I don't quite know what the guy is trying to say. Those are the songs I like best.
Well, I try to write so where it's kind of like, I hear songs. I don't like listening to songs. I really don't listen to music when I'm in my car or whatever, but I try to write, some of the songs I hear are kind of vague. So my songs, I think they're like more in your face, you know what they are. They're not very, it's not like avant-garde or anything. It just hits you in the face. It's just like street language, really. There's
how do I put it? I think that it's straightforward, and yet there's still an element of vagueness that it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways.
Yes.
I just think it was fascinating to see this side of you after so many years. I can remember listening to you guys. I don't want to make you feel old, but I can remember listening to you guys when I was just a little.
Hey, it's like Neil. He called the other day and. He's up in Colorado while his Malibu house is being rebuilt, and he go, I go, we're all dying to play, get back out there, and he goes, man, I feel old. I go, no, you're older. You're not old, man.
Older. There you go.
I'm older. I'm not old, man.
You're older.
I can still outrun a bunch of people.
Well, we'll have to get a foot race in if you ever get over here to Norway, then.
Yeah.
No, but I can remember listening to you guys or hearing you guys way, way back. I remember that French horn from after the gold rush when I was just a little guy. I'm talking before kindergarten. My father used to listen to you guys. He was like more into the, the Rolling Stones and you guys with Neil and things like that. My mom was the gospel, soul, and R&B side. So I got both music worlds, in my brain. But
awesome.
So I've been a long time listener to say it straight up. Yeah.
Good.
Now, what are your plans for touring? If I understood you correctly, you're going to be coming up with another album soon. Can you see yourself doing a larger tour to present both Love and Inspiration and then the new material you come with?
People ask me that, but I'm really shy. I respect, Billy Talbot. Like, we'll be on tour. If we're doing a festival, they have 4 or 5 stages.
Yeah.
And then before we go on, Billy will be on some stage playing acoustic, and I respect that. Me, I can't. The only time I really come out on stage is when we take a bow with Neil Young and Crazy Horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as sitting, I cannot see myself.
No.
Which is weird because people go, well, you have to like promote the album. I go, well, I mean, I'll release the CD and because of the way things are now about downloading a song or
Yes,
CD.
yeah.
And they go, you have to go out. I go, I don't know if I can do it. I should be able to. You know what I mean?
Well, but I get it. You have kind of found your place behind the drum kit, and it's a different world. It's a different world coming out and being the front figure is just, it's a different world. It's not better, it's not worse, but it's incredibly different.
It's a totally different world, man.
So for those that say that you have to go out, I beg to differ. You don't have to do anything. It's your art.
Yeah, right.
It's your. I don't need to tell you this. It's your art, and
I'd have
you
done
do
it. I'd have done it already. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And people ask me, when are you going to come out to Italy? And I go, like Francesco Lucarelli, this friend of ours in Rome, you're going to come out and promote? I go, Francesco, I don't think I'm going to do that, man. But I don't, we'll see, as days go by and my next CD comes out, we'll see. I'll take it from there.
How far along are you in the process of your next CD?
Well, the bummer is I have two songs finished or three songs, but it's hard to get into the studio out here, because of the COVID.
Yes.
But I have 6 songs that are totally arranged and in the can and that need my vocals. And so I just got in touch with this studio in Cambria, near where I live in Atascadero, in the Central Coast here. That the studio is open, and I just have to set the time to go in and sing the song. So then I'll have 9 songs done, and I have 2 that I'm working on.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. No, when it comes to touring and the promotional stuff and all that stuff, maybe, you'll do as you see fit. I know people would love to see you come out and promote it, but on the other hand, it's kind of cool that it's this mystery thing, that's just out there and people just have to get their interpretation from listening to it rather than watching you perform.
Right.
Yeah. You have been in Norway. We've talked about this. What is it that brought you to Norway? Was it a tour at some point, or were you just here on vacation?
Yeah. We've been out there maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
And then one reason I remember. You might not remember her, but there was an ice skater named Sonja Henie.
Yes.
Who is from Norway.
Yeah.
And whom I loved. I loved watching her movies because when I was growing up, I loved musicals and movies like that. Westerns and musicals were my favorite. And I would see her in movies, and I just fell in love with her. But like I said, like my aunt was telling me, in our tree we had a little bit of Norwegian in us, which is weird.
Yeah, you had mentioned that before. Yeah.
But I love when I'm in Norway. I just love it. I just love the, I don't know. I just love it. The quaintness.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very quaint. That is exactly the word I was going to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
You could be right in the middle of Oslo, but you don't get that crowded, loud, big city feeling. Right. And it's just a pleasantness to it that you don't find in American cities. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I tell you, almost 20 years I've been here, and it's still new. It's still I still feel like I'm on vacation. I still feel like I'm just visiting here. So there's something special. There's something different about Norway. I
love Norway. Yes.
My crazy wife dragging me all the way out here. I tell her she had to get me isolated so she can control me better. So mission accomplished.
That's funny.
Well, I tease because I love her.
Well, good for you. Yeah, that guy I was telling you about showed up, and he's just walking around. I guess he's looking at the tree to see how, what he needs to do.
Now, are you speaking of trees and things like that, these wildfires that are going out there in California, has that affected you at all?
It has not affected where I am. It's more it's north of us about 2 hours. But 2 weeks ago there was just the sky was just dark with smoke.
Wow.
And when the sun was blood red from the fires. But right now it's clearing up. It's been kind of cooler, and which is great. We just need rain, hard rain. But California, you only get what I call spritzers.
Yeah. That's got to be scary though with the fires, man. So, God bless you guys for putting up with that. That just seems so terrifying when I see that on the news.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
We're okay.
I was trying to think real quick. I'm not sure how much time you have, but I wanted to ask you something. I was trying to think back to how did you and I connect on social media? I cannot remember how that happened. We just kind of started.
Are you going through a senior moment, John?
hey, I thought we said we weren't going to talk. I thought we weren't going to talk about being old.
I think that you might have put something on Facebook, and I commented. It had to do with music, I believe. I'm not sure.
There you go. You know what it was?
And then I made a comment, and then we became friends.
Yes. You know what it was? I had commented that I was going to be working with Elliot Mazer.
Right.
That's what it was, yeah. And then, you commented something, and from there we just...
that we had...
Yeah.
That we had worked with Mazer before.
That's right. Yeah. He came out here and produced a country album that I wrote for an artist.
Really?
Yeah. We did a lot of joking back in the control room that it takes a Jew and a black guy to bring good country music to Norway.
A Jew and a black man to do something in Norway.
To bring country music to Norway, yeah.
To Norway. That's beautiful.
Good times, man. Good times. Here's one thing I want to say on the air. I want my listeners to know this. A lot of people, when they think about musicians, big name musicians like yourself, they think that they're unapproachable. They think that there's a certain amount of elitism, a certain amount of arrogance. Right. But I want people to know that you, Ralph Molina, are one of the sweetest guys I've ever known. You had such kind words to say to me when my son passed away from his heroin overdose. So I thank you, and I want people to know that that's the kind of person you are, because you didn't have to comment that. You don't, we just chat online. You don't know me, but you still took the time to bring some kind words, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, John. Whenever, I could. Someone that I don't even know could post something about the mom passing away or brother, and I comment just because that's how I am. It's kind of like if I put something down where my mom or whatever passed away, people comment, that don't know me, and that's the way it should be. As far as being, when people go, you're a legend, I don't. I don't believe any of that stuff. Me, I'm just a street guy, just like we are, and I'm not into posing. I'm not into cocktail parties. I just play music. I love playing music, and I'm just the way I grew up. That's my mom and my dad and my family. And it's just how I am, period.
Well, that's real. That's real humanity right there. There's nothing fake about that. That's straightforward, and it's incredibly endearing. And I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely. So, what do you got coming up then for the near future? But you're working on this album. Anything happening with Crazy Horse? Anything coming up with bigger projects that you can talk about?
We were supposed to go out at the end of April this year for a world tour, which would have begun in the States here.
Yeah.
and then probably Europe again. But the last 2 or 3 tours we were in Europe. We haven't played the States in maybe 6-7 years.
Yeah, it's been
so
a while.
we were going to go out, but right now we're on hold. Neil, he calls and we talk, and we're all chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I can imagine.
To go out. But no one, you can't go out right now. But our plan is, once it, and I think more positive and more hopeful than a lot of other people. I think it's going to be a lot sooner than later that this COVID disappears, or we find a cure, like a vaccine, supposedly towards the end of the year. I hear,
that would be great.
So I think, I try to think more positive and more hopeful. Like I said, I think it'll happen sooner than later. And then we plan to get together and continue what we were going to do at the end of April, go on tour. And while I have this time, I'm going to finish this CD. And,
now's a good opportunity to be writing and doing all that.
We're all thankful that, we can still play. We all, stopped the partying from years ago. A lot of like Red Hot Chili Peppers, bands like that would come up to us on tour. Go, how can you guys still play? I go, well, I try to, tell them. I said, look, we did all the partying, we did, everything, all the drugs, blah blah blah. But in time, you have to stop. If you want to continue to play, you have to stop. It's kind of like changing your diet or whatever.
Yeah,
you have to do it.
And I would think that with time, your priorities start to shift a little bit. I would imagine as a famous musician when you're younger, you're going to gravitate towards the partying and stuff. Of course, while you're still performing your art, but with age, I would think there would be a switch in that focus and more focus on the art, more focus on being able to, focusing on the longevity, which means you gotta drop the drinking and the this, that, and the other.
Yeah. Unfortunately, people, great artists like Jimi, Hendrix, and I can't think of what's her name.
Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin. They died young.
Yes.
We kind of, when we were younger, we stayed away from the hard drugs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so me personally, I was never really into drinking.
No.
And I think I always, I would also tell, certain bands, that how I grew up with a lot of, I stayed away from gangs, etc. In the Lower East Side of New York. I was mostly, I thank God that the guys that I hung out with, which were all different ethnicities or whatever the word is, and we were all always into sports.
Okay.
That's how I grew up. Playing a lot of sports, staying away from certain things, being responsible. And I, it was easy for me to say enough, and
I can identify with that. That athletic background that I have is what kept me away from all of that.
Exactly. That's what helped me,
And it brings benefits now in our later years. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
yes, it does. Yes, it does. So we just all feel blessed that we can still play. We're just waiting to be able to go out and do our thing again.
Now, what do you enjoy the best, Ralph? Do you enjoy the recording process or the touring process most?
No, I love, yes, you record, but my touring and going on the road is my very, playing in front of the fans and people.
Okay, that's
what it's all about.
That's the thing for you. Okay, yeah. Understand.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing like it. I mean, it's been a half a lifetime, it feels like, since I last performed. But there's nothing like the rush of being in front of the crowd.
Nothing. You play off each other. That's what it's about. People would go, people would say, how come Neil how come Neil doesn't look at the audience? I go, it's not a disrespect thing. What it is Neil's in the zone. I always tell Neil, when we do Cortez and those anthems, it's kind of like you're playing on one planet, I'm playing on another planet, Billy's playing on another planet, and Pancho, and then we all meet in the middle. And we just, we're in the zone that, and it's for the people, it really is. I mean, the more we're in the zone, the more they're definitely going to enjoy it.
No, I've never questioned and I know some people make an issue out of how Neil doesn't really look at the audience or interact very much with the audience, but I've never questioned that. I'm right there. I get it that you guys
Neil,
are.
Neil, I mean, I've played with him a long time, and he still gives me chills. The reason
That's
I
beautiful.
say that is because Neil, he's not a chops player. He's not a poser. And anybody, if you study guitar or whatever, you'll have all the chops in the world. But to me, you have all the chops, but you don't have the feel. And now Neil, when he plays, every note he plays, it's coming from inside of him.
He means it. It's so his guitar is so soulful.
Yeah,
it's not a chops play. He's not a chops player, but he's got soul, and I love it.
He's got very passion. So much feeling, and that's what I love about our band. I mean, when we get in a zone, we just forget. You forget where you are. Now, if you're up on stage posing, you're thinking, you're not playing, you're posing.
Well, and the crowd knows it too. If the crowd is halfway educated in music as fans, then they know it. I tell you, I love watching Billy. Sometimes he's just gone when he throws that head back and those eyes close, and he's just. It's I get chills just thinking about it.
We call him Boom Boom.
Yes.
And then one day we call him Boom. But what Neil loves and what we love about Billy is he's the music 24/7, which I respect. I can't do that, but he.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Neil, he's talking about music. He could be up at 3 a.m. doing some recording, up at his house in South Dakota.
Okay.
It's music. Me, I do my music, but I also have my personal life, which, Billy does too.
Sure.
But sure. I kind of like split it 50-50. And,
gotcha.
Yeah. And,
well, what do you do in your free time? No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I do what you do, man. I work I'll work on my garden. I'll trim my hedges. I do my taxes. I go to the store. Just living life. Normal crap. And in between, I'll pick up my guitar, my Gibson, and I'll just kind of, start playing. If something comes, it comes. If not, I put it down. And I also love doing crossword puzzles. I love reading my sports section. The headlines I throw away. I don't want to keep hearing
that's a wise thing. That's a wise thing.
Yeah,
that's
and so
very wise.
I still love my sports. I love my Dodgers and Yankees, and I just write and do mix it up.
So you're just filling your day up with regular stuff, like anybody else.
Regular stuff like everyone else does, man. And then when it comes time to play, I play. I still, I have an RV garage, which I turn it into kind of more of a rehearsal thing. So I have buddies that come over and we'll jam for 2 or 3 hours to keep your chops up. And, and so, I help them record. If they want to use me on drums, I do, for no pay.
That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you.
Friend, it's a friend thing. If I need them to do something for me, they'll do it,
Good Lord, you are so real. You are so real. You are so down to earth. Good Lord,
man, that's awesome. How else can you be, John? You're real. That's what life's too short, man.
I agree so much. It's all about perspective. We're looking at the things that are important and letting
conscience. You got to have a conscience. You got to have morals.
And I try my best to let the foolishness and negativity just go on by. I try not to let that touch me at all.
It's not easy. It's not easy. We're not robots.
No,
we're people that feel. We have a heart. We have a soul, and things. There are things that you get upset about. But it's kind of like, they say, don't sweat the small stuff, because what are you going to do? Take that shit to your grave?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? It means nothing. Right now, to us, it goes, I'm this and I'm that. But in the end, what's important? Your family.
Right.
Friends.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what's important, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you, Ralph, are you a religious man?
I'm a believer. I believe in God. Yes, I am that way. But I don't. I used to. When I was younger, I was maybe 12. I started going to church in New York with friends of mine. I'm a Catholic, and then when I came out from from Florida, I started going to church, and then I stopped. And so then I realized, and I said to myself that you can go into any church, whether it's Protestant, whether it's Baptist, whether it's Jewish, temple. Yeah. It's all about God.
Yes.
Okay? It's all about God. Doesn't matter what church you're in. So my wife, yes, she goes, but I don't. I do my prayers here at home, and my church is in my heart. You know what I mean?
I was just going to say, my grandmother always told me the church is not the building. The church is in your heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what it is. I say my prayers, and I make I have atheist friends, and more power to them.
Sure,
I don't,
sure.
It's fine. I love them all. Yeah. I let them know that I'm a believer, and that's it, and they're fine with it. The people that, I always agree to disagree, and vice versa.
Live and let live. Yeah.
Let live. Everybody has an opinion, and I'm not going to, what gets to me as far as, I don't like talking politics, but friends and family that unfriend each other over politics, it's ludicrous to me. I
agree. And it's,
it's ugly.
Yeah. Even though we don't like to talk about politics, there is a crazy political situation going on, and and it is what it is. Crazy. It is what it is. But yes, I agree. It's sad that families are breaking up.
I figure out here, as far as America, November 3rd will decide who's president, who isn't. Yeah. That's all. As far as people unfriending, I think it should be. I don't care. Everybody has an opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period.
And that's the safest way to look at it. It's the most peaceful way to look at it, because some people get wrapped up in it and they start to lose their minds, and they end up saying things they don't really mean to say, and people end up walking away from each other, and it's terrible.
It's awful. That's forget it, man. Life's too short.
Yeah.
Well,
that's one of the good things about Norway. The political situation here is so simple. It's quaint. That's the word we use. It's quaint politically as well.
Exactly.
It's so much easier to deal with.
I love Europe, man. I love touring Europe.
I have to admit something here. When I came to Norway, when we moved here, my wife is Norwegian, so that's why we moved here. And I was so excited, because I'm thinking, okay, now I have the opportunity to visit all, there's Rome, Berlin, all these different places in Europe.
Right.
And Ralph, I haven't been anywhere. Jesus. I haven't been, but to my defense, or to the glory of Norway, it's because there is so much excitement here in Norway. So when we get free time, and we have another place way up north, way up past the Arctic Circle, so that long drive, and there's just so much to explore between here and way up there.
I bet it's so beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Man. God, I bet it's beautiful.
I'm going to send you a photo of our little farm up there.
Please.
It's the most beautiful little corner way out in the middle of nowhere. It's right by the ocean on an island way up there. I'm going to send you a picture of that when we're done.
Wow, please do. Yeah. Yes. Awesome.
We've got a barn up there. We could set up a little jam up there.
There you go.
There won't be anybody.
When we get back to Norway, we'll look each other up.
Oh, for sure. You are always welcome in my home. Great. Absolutely. I tell people if I invite someone to be on my podcast, it's just not for shits and giggles. I mean, let's have some fun, but it's because I'm asking people to come on, people who I respect, people who I think can leave some something good and positive on the table for me to examine and for my listeners to examine afterwards. And I think the main thing with you, Ralph, is that goodness that you portrayed, like I said, with your kind comments when my son passed and things like that. And then also your longevity. I respect you for doing something that you love for so long.
Thank you.
And that thing that you love is so pure, and it's just beautiful to watch. Your album again is it. I mean, I've always loved your background singing, but to hear you singing now in the forefront, it's beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, well, you know who inspired me when I was a kid? Johnny Mathis.
Oh, Johnny Mathis. Now there's a name. There's a name I haven't thought of in years.
I used to walk, I mean, I got to meet him when I came to California, which was awesome in itself. But we went to when I was 18, I would go back from Florida to New York to visit. And I wound up at the Copacabana to see Johnny Mathis. And I used to walk, I was 14, just walk along singing Chances Are. And
Chances Are, when I wear a silly grin.
Yeah, and he's got one of the greatest, he has one of the greatest Christmas albums.
Yeah, he does.
He's standing on the cover with the skis or something, he's kind of like dressed like that. But he's got all 12th of Never. He's got all these beautiful songs. But anyway, that's why I used to kind of, and plus, listening to my doo-wop songs.
Yeah.
So that? I guess, that's...
Johnny Mathis, that is a name I haven't thought of in years, but of course, Johnny Mathis.
Well, there you go, man. That man could sing.
Oh, buddy. He could, absolutely. And I remember that Christmas album. If I'm not mistaken, that was the #1 Christmas album for years. Until I think Mariah Carey's Christmas album knocked it out of first place. But that
Carey,
was
there's a lady that can sing, I'll tell you that.
Oh, good Lord.
But Johnny, I love Johnny Mathis, when I was growing up.
Cool. That's just cool. I'm just going to say that. It's just cool.
Man.
Johnny Mathis.
So as a matter of fact, Elliot Roberts, our late manager, he loved doo-wop.
Did he?
He would have albums. Oh, he said, Ralph, I just got this, the Jesters meet, there's some other group, some doo-wop group, and I go, wow, awesome, man. And he was loaded down with doo-wop albums, and he was a Johnny Mathis guy too.
Very cool. Let me ask you this: who was your favorite producer to work with up through the years? Can I guess? Was it David Briggs?
Yeah, I was just going to say David Briggs, and you know what? On our last when we did what is that?
Sleeps with Angels.
We did Americana. The one before Colorado was Walk Like a Giant. Psychedelic Pill.
Psychedelic Pill. Yeah.
Okay, so Neil called me, and he goes, Ralph. Because he always thinks that, I'm not comfortable with certain people. I don't know why. I don't like being looked at when I'm playing drums. Maybe he gets it from that. But he said, which producer would you like, to do this album with? And so I thought of John Hanlon. And I said, well, I think John, because he was David's right-hand man on a lot of the albums.
Okay.
So he says, good. So he called John, and to this day, John is working with us, And,
wow. Okay. So that's like a continuation of the David Briggs legacy.
Continuation. David Briggs is a man that I truly respected his opinion. Now, he would, he'd kind of like, talk to me, and if he says something about, Ralph on the drums, blah, blah, blah. Now, normally I would go, well, yeah, I'd listen, but I wouldn't hear it.
Right.
But he's a guy, when I respected everything he said, and so did Neil, and all of us. And when he was gone, there was a big hole, just like now with Elliot gone, there's a big hole.
Yeah.
But you carry on. But anyway, so now we have John Hanlon.
That's so interesting that's just a continuation of that legacy. Yeah. So you guys are kind of coming home to what you knew before.
Yeah. So it's like Neil, before this COVID thing started, we were going to go out and do you learn Crazy Horse thing, of course, with Nils Lofgren on guitar now, because Pancho's retired in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Which is fine. And we're blessed to have Nils, because Nils has been a part of Crazy Horse for forever.
Yeah.
Anyway, from the first album, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah. And God, what was I talking about, John?
I had asked.
I got carried away.
I had asked your who was your favorite producer, and then you talked about the continuation of the David Briggs legacy,
right.
And
what else?
Psychedelic Pill.
Okay, yeah, I got that, and then I got into Nils for some reason.
Nils. He's quite the character.
Oh, he's a character. Yeah. He's like my brother, man, and we talk a lot. He's very athletic. When he was younger, he was into athletics like I was.
Yeah.
He's very, he used to, when we did the Trans tour with him and me and Ben Keith and Joe Lala and Neil, he would put on like half-pound ankle weights on his ankles.
Okay, so that's not just a rumor. I've heard that said before, and I'm like, right.
He would walk around with those things and do like 100 sit-ups, and then he'd go on stage like he's floating on stage, man.
And I've seen concert footage. I do believe I have a DVD of the closing night for that tour when you guys were in Berlin. And I remember, it's been a while since I've seen it, and Nils was like a monkey on a string jumping around that stage. So that explains it then. That explains it.
And plus he'd have maybe 1 or 2 cups of this black espresso coffee, man.
Oh, good Lord.
Oh, Nils, man.
I love the story of how he came to be in the After the Gold Rush sessions.
Yeah.
Is it true?
When we did Everybody Knows This Is Nowhere. We would play these clubs back east, like the Le Cave. I think that was in Ohio and Cleveland. I think there was a couple of clubs we played, and we played this club, I think it was in New York, where this kid, he was probably 17. He came, he was very jacked up, I remember, and we were back in the dressing room, and he comes in with his guitar, and he just sits down and starts playing, and we all look at each other like,
that's pretty ballsy.
What the hell?
That's pretty ballsy, yeah.
Yeah, so Danny says, hey, why don't you, put your guitar down and just come out to California. And which he did. Nils came out and we did, our first Crazy Horse album.
Yeah.
And then, Neil heard of him and stuff, and we talked about him, and he did After the Gold Rush, and he did the Tonight's the Night album and with us and the Trance album, So he was a big part of our band forever,
What
it's kind of like.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was, after we lost Danny back in 71 to 72, and Billy had found Pancho, and so he goes, Ralph, I'm going to bring this guy by, and we're going to jam and see what you think of him to be in Crazy Horse,
Yeah.
And at the time, to this day, I tell Billy, you know what, Billy. Because Pancho, being great, as he is, but he wasn't really a musician.
He was very new, from what I understand.
He was more, he played music, but he was more into the business.
Yes.
Business, where, so I to this day, I go, Billy, if I had thought of Nils back then, we were a lot younger, but I didn't, Nils's name did not even come into my mind. And I go, if I had thought of Nils would have been in the band all this time.
Yeah.
But I didn't think of Nils, but he's with us now. So.
Well, it's interesting how those things change and how things happen, and then here you are in this situation that you are in. It comes back around again. It's just, I just thought it was interesting, this story about, I mean, there's, like I say, you hear rumors and stuff, and it turns out I heard rumors about this, the ankle weights and things like that, and that turned out to be true. And then there was always the story of how, you guys told him, just come out and see us in California. And he did. And, a lot of people wouldn't follow through on that, but he did.
No.
That says a lot about his focus and his character.
Exactly. And he's a true musician, you know what I mean? And, we'd like him and Billy and I, because Billy called last week and said, if, Neil's up in Colorado, but he has a studio, Billy does, in South Dakota, which we can be social distanced, and maybe him and Nils and I can get together, and Neil might, if we do this, I go, Billy, just let me know. He goes, yeah, you can drive to Arizona and then pick Nils up and come right up. I said, that's fine with me. I just want to play, man. So I go, yeah, if Neil, wants to, it's a shorter ride for him, plane wise or drive wise, and to go to South Dakota and just jam,
Sure.
And just play.
Oh man, I get chills just thinking about it. I miss, I've kind of gotten away. I've always been writing, but I've gotten away from the performance because of COVID.
Right.
But here in a couple,
it sucks, man.
It does, man. It's killing the culture life.
I know.
It's just killing it. Eventually we're going to find a new normal, but good Lord, I wish it would happen now.
We're going to find a new normal or an old normal, and we're going to, everybody, all the bands are going to come out that much stronger.
I think so. Yeah. The bands that were meant to be, the artists that were meant to be, they'll be back. They will be back.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
I got to tell you, man, I've enjoyed this talk. You are just as pleasant to speak with as I knew you would be.
And you as well. And this has really been enjoyable. I don't like things like this. Yeah. But just from hearing your voice, like I said, wow, you sound different than you look.
Yeah, remember? You said that. That was.
I said,
and I had to laugh.
You're one of the very few that I would do this with.
Oh man, well I'm honored.
Honestly, I'm not trying to grease you or anything. This is God's honest truth. I do not like these things, but I do it for you. I do it, and it's been enjoyable. Truly.
Well, Ralph, I'm very honored. I'm real honored. Like I said, this is the tail end of my day, and what a way to end my day. It's just been a nice, pleasant conversation between two brothers. So
likewise, brother. Likewise.
I thank you.
Likewise, John.
Well, listen, I'd like to thank you again. I want to wish you well. I also wanted to let you know you have an open invitation both on my podcast and also in my home when you come to Norway the next time.
Thank you. If you ever get out to the Central Coast, you're as welcome as I would be in Norway.
Oh, that's fantastic.
But anyway, listen, likewise, you and yours, be well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay well, healthy, and keep the faith.
Absolutely. Music is alive. It's taken a little nap. It's taken a little nap, but it's still alive.
It's a reason for it, so I'm going along with it.
All right. Thanks, Ralph.
Be positive.
Thank you.
All right, John. Thank you very much, buddy.
Okay, everybody. That's Ralph Molina. Bye, everybody. Thank you and goodbye.